As you all know, I'm Shaun Crawford, host of Varsity podcast, and on this episode, we welcome Cleveland's Mayor, Justin Bibb.
What's up, Shaun?
How's it going?
Welcome to City Hall.
I know this is my first time. I was like, even when I first started this podcast, I never imagined that I would be, doing one in City Hall, having a conversation with the mayor. And so, one, because I never thought I'd like branch away from doing sports or having an athlete on, and then two, I never thought without, I guess, being a professional player or anything, that I would encounter the mayor and then be able to form such a natural relationship. And so, and I personally believe that's what makes you who you are.
Thank you, man. I appreciate that, brother.
Kind of just, speak on that and just how you're able just to make natural connections to, citizens of Cleveland.
Well, I think my whole life I've been a bridge builder, right? My parents divorced when I was 4 years old. My dad was in an affluent suburb, Shaker Heights, Ohio. And my mom and I went to live with my grandma in Mount Pleasant. And so I've always been navigating multiple worlds. And my first love, as you know, was playing ball. Mm-hmm. I thought I was going to be the number 2 guard at Duke. Obviously, that didn't work out.
Right.
But, playing sports growing up, whether it be basketball, football, baseball, running track, I've always had this passion for bringing people together and sharing in great experiences. And that's an attribute I used throughout my campaign last year as I was running for mayor, and it's the same kind of attributes I bring every day as mayor of this great city.
Mm-hmm. Now, January 3rd, 2022, what does that day mean to you?
Seems like a lifetime ago.
Right.
I've been mayor now for over 10 months since I got sworn in on January 3rd. And in many ways, it was a priceless moment. Not just for me, but my entire family. And I remember taking the oath of office using my late grandmother's Bible and seeing my mom and seeing her in tears. I really felt the magnitude of that moment then. And I tell a lot of folks who ask me, do I like being mayor? It's the best job I could ever have.
Right.
I have a lot of hard days, don't get me wrong. But being mayor of your hometown, particularly in this moment when there's so much on the line for Black and brown people across the city and across this country, being able to lead with authenticity and being my true self is certainly a dream come true.
Now, was it any normal day for you to where, for me personally, when it's a big football game or a big game for me, sometimes breakfast is light. It's hard for me to eat because a lot of nerves going in through the day. But for you, did you just take it as a normal day?
No, it was hard. I remember getting sworn in literally at midnight on January 3rd.
Okay.
So I think I tried to take a nap and sleep before, but I was really too excited. I had a ton of adrenaline. And then the inauguration, the real inauguration lasted about an hour. I got home around 1 a.m. and then I got a couple hours of sleep and came to City Hall that day to swear in my cabinet and to check out my new digs and take the helm of the city. So it was certainly not a normal day.
Yeah, no, definitely. It's a beautiful office as well.
Thank you.
Now you said it's flown by, or it seems like a long time ago. Have you had time to sit down and reflect and just appreciate where you are today?
Not enough time. It's something I'm working on. I often tell folks that I'm a true work in progress because there is so much that needs to get done to really execute my vision for the city that I feel like I don't have enough time to get everything done. And every day I'm in office is one less day I have to be in office. But I'm hoping to take some time during the holiday season to really take stock of what has worked well this year, what didn't work well, and reflect on the journey I've been on over the last couple of years and take all those insights and prepare for 2023 and the year ahead.
Now let's take it back to, your foundation, born on the east side of Cleveland. And then, like you mentioned, the Mount Pleasant neighborhood. How did growing up there and then also growing up with your grandma just help mold you into who you are today?
It was everything for me. My other grandmother passed away on her birthday. She was a ripe, young 93 years old. And I think about her journey to Cleveland. She grew up in the segregated South. Her father was the son of a sharecropper in Alabama, in Jasper, Alabama. She only had a high school education, and like many black folks during her time, she thought that she could achieve the American dream in a city like Cleveland. And for her to sacrifice what she had to sacrifice, raising 4 children as a widow, it truly was a dream come true to have my grandmother vote for me last year, to have her see me get inaugurated as mayor. That's the American dream.
Right.
And in no other country is my story possible. But the lessons I learned riding my bike on Dove and Lennox Craven Angeles, I learned the importance of hard work. I learned the importance of doing what you said you were going to do and sticking by your word. And I learned the importance of integrity and being a leader. And I think, my grandmother and both of my parents gave me a lot of lessons that I use every single day as mayor.
And now, I don't know if we can see it, but behind you, I noticed the fire helmet.
Yeah.
And we're talking about, or was your late father's, Donald Bibb.
Yeah.
And so he, spent time as a firefighter and then also a police officer. How did that relationship, help mold you? And then also, some of the actions that you are, passionate about?
Yeah. My pops was the hardest working person I've ever met. I remember him working a full shift at the firehouse. He would come home, stop by Whitmore's, we'll get some food.
Whitmore's.
Watch some TV. He would always stay up late watching Sanford and Son.
Right.
In Good Times, and I'd pass out with him, and then he'd be up bright and early to go and do a shift at the police station. And he never complained. He never said he was tired. And I would often ask my dad, Pops, why you work so hard? He would say, Justin, I'm working hard so you don't have to work as hard as I have to. And he really laid the foundation for my brother and I to really live successful, productive lives. And I'll always be forever grateful for his commitment to public service.
And now, moving forward a little bit, Trinity High School.
Yeah.
It's not quite like St. Ed's, but
go Trojans.
Yeah, it's not quite like St. Ed's, but how did going to Trinity? How was the experience there? And also, were you in any like clubs or sports teams? I know you mentioned basketball, but
I spent the first 2 years of high school as a jock. All I cared about was sports and girls, right? And when my hoop dreams died and faded away, I had to figure out what my next path would be. And I remember my mom saying, look, you ain't the next LeBron James. At the time, I had a 2.5 GPA. She said, you're kind of good at public speaking. Try for the mock trial team. So I get prepared for the mock trial tryout. And as I'm sure you know, there's a lot of adrenaline doing a big tryout or a big game.
Right.
And I get so pumped up for the tryout that I bombed the tryout. I forgot all the cases I had to review. I just completely failed, and I got cut from the mock trial team, and I was devastated. And then as I was going back to my locker, I see a kid, a classmate of mine, Hunter Ferris was his name, and he had a Wes Clark for President t-shirt on. And I'm like, oh, what is this? He's like, oh, well, I'm volunteering on this presidential campaign. You should come out and check it out. I did, and I fell in love with politics from that day. I was organizing phone banks, knocking on doors, researching public policy. We didn't have a student council at Trinity, so I created my own version of student council called Junior Statesman of America. I got a scholarship to go to Georgetown the summer before my senior year of high school. And then I heard this young state senator who's running for the United States Senate give his 04 speech at the Democratic National Convention, Barack Obama. And when I heard that speech, I said, I'm going to DC and I'm working for Senator Obama. And, a year and a half later, I was in the Senate as an intern working for Senator Obama in his office. And that's when it really all connected for me. That if you work hard, play by the rules, there's nothing you can't achieve. And it really was a turning point for me in my life.
I would say you handled adversity well.
Yeah.
And you willed a lot of things to happen, and so I feel like as my high school career, like, and probably like many others, I had no idea what I wanted to do. I went to Notre Dame and played football there, but outside of that, it was like the NFL, and I was like, I don't really know what I'm gonna do after that, or besides that. And so for me to like hear your story and for you to be able to, also go through adversity and, experience the sports, experience being cut from the mock trial, and then continue to, follow a different path, I would say a different path within our community, really speaks volume, And so, obviously, working with President Obama, talk about that experience and just like how much he just influenced you today.
He was a major influence on me. You think about his trajectory. He started off as a community organizer in the South Side of Chicago. I did community organizing in college, organizing in Anacostia, Southeast DC, which at the time, in 2005, was one of the toughest neighborhoods in the country. High rates of HIV and AIDS, high murder rates, high school dropout rates as well. And a lot of the kids that I was organizing with looked like me. I came from the same neighborhoods that I came from. Many members of their family were victims of violent crime or got caught up in the drug game like my family. And what really threw me off was you could literally see the Capitol building 4 or 5 blocks away from where we were doing community organizing. And me being a bright-eyed freshman in college, I thought DC is the most powerful city in the world. There's probably no poverty. Everyone's living well. Right. But then I saw that you had inner cities all across the country, just like Cleveland. And so the best way to affect change wasn't just to, work in fancy buildings on Capitol Hill, but was to be in the community, being in the streets, mobilizing political power at the local level. And that's been my theory of change since I got involved in politics.
Was there ever a moment where you second guessed yourself?
That's a great question. For a while, I thought the best way to make change after college was to make a lot of money. My mom always said, "Look, we got enough broke politicians in Cleveland. I don't want you to be another broke politician."
Right.
And there's always this sense, particularly in the Black community, where for a long time the dream has been, if you're born and raised in the inner city, go to college, go get your bag, create wealth, and you're golden. But I think what my mother's generation didn't do, that I'm committed to do, is we should go back to our inner cities. Right? Go back to Cleveland, go back to Detroit, go back to Pittsburgh, go back to Tulsa, go back to Birmingham. Because if we don't fix the problems of the urban core where our people live, then our people will never be better off long term. And so I spent a lot of time after college really focused not on the kind of impact I wanted to have, but what was the best way to have wealth, or the best job for money so I can be okay. And I was never comfortable giving up my first love, which was making an impact in a city like Cleveland. And so when 2020 hit with the pandemic, with George Floyd's murder, I just knew that it was time to leave the corporate C-suite and get a clipboard, get my walking shoes, and knock some doors, get on the ballot, and mobilize the city for change.
And now, talk about corporate world, to where, obviously it was a long journey for you becoming mayor and, American, and then you got a scholarship in London, right?
Yeah, study abroad.
And then, moving on to going back to DC, then New York and things like that, working in the corporate world.
Yeah.
What, was there a specific moment? I know you talk about the George Floyd and, COVID and things like that, but were you just ever satisfied in that moment to where, I was you were good, and you kind of had your mom saying she doesn't want another broke politician back at Cleveland, but was there just a moment to where it's just you just had to fight that resistance?
Yeah, when I decided to run for mayor, more people told me I was crazy than told me I would win. everyone said, look, you're at Key Bank making amazing money. You're on a lot of great community and civic boards. Why would you give all that up, right, to run for mayor, to lose? But I'm a big believer in fate. I don't believe that you choose the moment chooses you. Mm-hmm. And I felt in my heart that Cleveland deserved bold, new, dynamic, visionary leadership to come out of this pandemic, to come out of this era of racial reckoning. And I thought that with the right team and with the right commitment from me as a candidate, I could win and deliver for the residents of Cleveland, and that's what we did.
Mm-hmm. I don't know if this is a term, but I maybe made it up out there, the millennial movement.
I love that.
And so
I love that.
I obviously saw that you were the first millennial named mayor in Cleveland.
Yeah.
And so do you see that as the city of Cleveland as well getting behind, a new look?
I do. Mm-hmm. I do. I think that our administration is ushering in a new sense of energy and dynamism in the city that we haven't seen probably since Mayor White was elected in 1989. And I think this is the perfect time for it because this is the era of the secondary city where cities like Cleveland, Detroit, Pittsburgh are really primed to lead the next chapter of America's economic growth story. And Cleveland has always been at the vanguard of building things in this country. Mm-hmm. We were once the 6th largest city in the country. And so we got to get back to building things, building things in America. And with the investments that Intel and Honda are making in Ohio, we have shifted from being called the Rust Belt to now the Silicon Heartland. This is our moment. This is our time. Mm-hmm. We're doing this new conference called Futureland to elevate Black and brown tech entrepreneurs in arts and culture in the city. We're bringing Forbes 30 under 30 to Cleveland next year. Mm-hmm. And so you're starting to see Cleveland get a different swag, right? And, I want Cleveland to be a city where you move to, not move from. Right? Growing up, everyone was like, yo, I'm going to Chicago, I'm going to Atlanta, I'm going to DC, I'm going to New York. No one said, look, I'm going to go to college and I'm coming back to the land. No one ever said that.
Right.
They thought you were crazy if you ever said that, right? And I think you and I have an amazing opportunity to change the brand and really change the narrative of Cleveland, to really change the culture of not just the city, but the whole country.
Yeah, it seems like you did some homework on me and got all the, but no. And so I recently, at Urban Nova. And so CSO there, correct?
Yeah.
So how did that go into, well, first off, what is Urban Nova? I kind of did a, little research on it, but firstly, just what is it?
So it was a nonprofit really focused on how do you help mid-sized cities like Cleveland and Spokane, Washington, really leverage technology to make cities smarter, more resilient, and more innovative. Mm-hmm. So I spent a lot of my time talking about why technology is important. How do you enhance technology to improve the delivery of services for residents? Everything from, how we pick up the snow better,
right,
to how we manage our electricity costs to address the energy burden that Black and brown communities have in their cities. And so that experience has really allowed me to think differently about the role of mayor and how do I make sure that City Hall is actually modern for the 21st century. Mm-hmm.
Just listening to you, I would say just like everything aligned for you. And it's funny because you could probably just look back now on it and see that like everything happened for a reason.
Yeah.
And similar to me, like I had three surgeries or season-ending injuries in college. And in that moment, I'm like, this is terrible. I don't know what I'm doing, but just every time kept coming back and playing. And at the end of the day, like I never knew that, like I ended up being at Notre Dame for 6 years and created a great network from being there so long. And then also just through that adversity, I've kind of just, fell on this podcast and just fell on wanting to, shine light on, people and different guests and different fields. And so I would say the same for you too, where, obviously you had the dream of being an NBA player and that didn't happen.
No.
And then,
far from it.
And then mock trial, that didn't happen, but it always led to, the next thing, you know what I mean? And so even now, talking about like being at Key Bank and all the things that you couldn't really control and you started to see like Urban Nova started to happen and things like that to where this is something you were meant to do.
Yeah, and I'm a big believer in my faith as a Christian and destiny, right? And I think my God-given purpose was public service. And when I always tried to veer it away, I was always somehow
brought back,
right? Like the prodigal son, you know? And so it's just really blessed. I'm really blessed and honored and just so humbled to be able to walk in my purpose every single day. It ain't easy, trust me. This is, outside of being president, this is being mayor of a major city is the second hardest job in politics. But it's not as hard as being a police officer who's on the line every day. It's not as hard as a teacher in Cleveland Public Schools who's trying to figure out how to make sure that our children can get up to speed on reading and math and science coming out of the pandemic. It's not as hard as a fireman who has to go in front of a blazing home to risk their life to save a life of a resident of our city. And so my job is hard, but you know, the everyday working people of this city have a lot tougher job than I do.
Yeah, now even off camera, I actually was like, "Do you have any off days?" Because I know we were. I saw you one night, and you said you had to get back home. You had church in the morning with your mom.
Yeah. Mama Bibb Sundays. Yeah. So that's been the hardest part of the job is really finding time for my family and friends. And I think as I get more time in the role, it'll be better. But you know, self-care is so important. I'm a work in progress, but it's just so important.
And you talk about, you know, doing things that, you know, help bring the city money and also bringing the community back. Like once you graduate college, like not leaving and finding new places, but coming back to your hometown. And I know you mentioned Futureland, but I want to dive more into Futureland and also some other, you know, events and projects that, you know, might help bring people back to Cleveland.
Great. Yeah, I mean, look, we for nearly 2 decades, we have been on the sidelines as a city, not engaging nationally, barely engaging regionally and locally. And I don't believe I can run City Hall effectively sitting behind my desk every day. It doesn't help the residents of Cleveland. We live in a globally competitive world. And I view my job as mayor as truly the chief sales officer for the city. Right, I got to pitch Cleveland to the world, and we brought back over $7 million of investment from DC and from Columbus since I took office. You know, Cleveland is now in the conversation across the country as being an emerging mid-sized city, and we built a strong foundation in my first year, where I think we can truly be competitive with some of the best cities in this country and best cities of the world, and so. The work we're doing with Futureland is only going to elevate Cleveland as a hub for Black and brown tech talent, as a hub for diverse culture and diverse art. You think about the great artists from Cleveland, right? From you know, Machine Gun Kelly to Kid Cudi to Bone Thugs to Halle Berry to Steve Harvey. I mean, you know, Cleveland has some great legends.
Right, exactly.
You know, to Rich Paul, right? I mean, think about the people who came from Cleveland. And so we've always been on the pulse of the culture, and I want to keep elevating that narrative for us as a city.
What I'm really looking forward to is the lakefront. That you just brought up and recently announced.
I call it America's North Coast, right? You got the East Coast, the West Coast. Now it's time to build America's North Coast. 14 miles, over 2,000 acres of prime lakefront real estate that we intend to maximize and leverage. We just announced several weeks ago a new master plan for our lakefront. It's my vision to one day try to close Burke. That's 500 acres of real estate that we're not really using productively. And some of the best cities in the world have amazing waterfronts. And so we can have an amazing lakefront and also an amazing riverfront. It'll be a big boon for new talent, a big boon for new investment, and really show Cleveland as a global coastal city.
And now we can't forget about NBA All-Star Weekend as well.
Yeah,
that was brought here. You know, you were fortunate enough to play in a celebrity game as well. We have whipped up our team whipped up a highlight tape for you.
I don't know if I want to see this.
We got you. We got you going. We got you balling. So
let's see.
Hold on. Let's rewind it.
That first dime was nice. You like that first dime? A little Showtime right there, like magic. By the way, Quavo's actually a really good player. See, I got blocked. I don't think I got blocked. Did Quavo block me?
I think so.
Now, Myles Garrett is a beast. I just got out the way during that dunk.
Yeah, we got you flexing.
He's a beast.
You held it up, though. You held it up.
That air ball.
Yeah.
There we go. See, got on the board. There
yes,
we go.
sir. 2 points.
You got on the board. You got on the board. There it is.
And then we gave you a block there. I don't know if you got it.
Yeah, I did block. That was a block. That was a block.
We gave you a block to lead to a fast break.
But the problem is, no one wanted to pass the ball.
They trying to get that MVP.
Yeah, no one wanted to pass the ball.
But talk about that event, and then talk about what that meant to the city of Cleveland.
It was amazing. It was the first major event coming out of the pandemic. It really allowed us to really showcase Cleveland on a global stage, because basketball is a global sport.
Right.
And I really loved it. And being able to be on the court with, some of the cool celebrities like Jack Harlow, MGK, and Quavo, and Alex Toussaint was a really dope experience.
Now, I saw you were wearing the LeBron 9s.
I was.
So a lot of people, I feel like
Miami Vice LeBrons is what I call them.
A lot of people don't have, I feel like you got swag just because I know you had on the 9, so that's one of my favorite LeBrons.
That's
so
what's up. That's what's up.
Do you have a favorite pair of LeBrons?
Those? The 9s. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. So now we got some fun questions, for the Clevelanders, and so we got a list of 10.
All right, what we got?
And first one, if you had to rate your top 5 Cleveland attractions, what would they be?
Oh, Cleveland Art Museum, Edgewater, Rockmore Hall of Fame, Rocket Mortgage Fieldhouse, because I love going to Cavs games, and my favorite, Mount Pleasant Barbecue on the southeast side.
I haven't tried that one.
You got to go try it, man.
I just want to add a Polish boy too.
Yes.
Because I love traveling. Like, only place that has them is usually like LA.
Yeah, Polish boys are good.
I love Polish boys, and people outside of Cleveland don't really know what they are. So I take pride in that.
Yeah.
Second one, top 5 Cleveland athletes of your lifetime.
Ooh, this is great. LeBron James, Nick Chubb. Definitely
crazy. Yeah.
Manny Ramirez.
Okay.
Who else we got? Zydrunas Ilgauskas, classic Cavs guy. Right. I would also say Josh Cribbs.
Okay.
Yeah. Shout out to Josh Cribbs.
That's a gem right there.
Yeah. And I got one more, right? Number 5.
That was 5.
That was 5?
I believe so. Think so. Yeah.
That's 5. Okay.
But do you feel like you're leaving someone out?
I mean, I'm a big Darius Garland fan.
Okay.
So I would add Darius to that list.
Definitely. Third one, if you were on the Guardians, what would your walk-up song be?
Dreams and Nightmares, Meek Mill.
I feel like that song will never die.
No, it's a classic.
It's going to be here
That was
forever.
my pre-debate song during the campaign last year, by the way.
Really?
Yeah, I would lock in and just get ready.
What about when the beat drop? Is that when you button up and you get going?
Yeah.
Fourth one, are you a Marvel fan?
Yeah.
So do you know which? I actually didn't notice until I looked it up, but there were many Marvel movies.
Why would you say
here.
I'm a new Marvel fan? You know why?
Why?
Black Panther. Right?
Okay.
That's Marvel, right? Black Panther.
Yeah.
Black Panther.
So there were a few actually shot in Cleveland. Do you know?
I had no idea.
Do you know which ones?
I have no idea.
The Avengers.
Okay. Captain America?
Captain America. Spider-Man 3, which was original Spider-Mans, which are my favorite.
Okay.
And then Blade, I think, is coming here this fall.
Oh, that's right. So, Wesley Snipes?
Yeah, but no, the new one, actually. I think they're shooting a new one this fall or something like that. So, and I think that's coming to Cleveland. But it's crazy because, looking it up, we had a lot of movies, like Fast and Furious, shot here.
Shot in Cleveland.
If you know any, could you give me a top 3, Cleveland-based movies, I guess?
Oh, man. Oh, Major League.
Yeah.
Definitely one of them. Cleveland-based movies. Jeez. I feel stumped right now on this question.
Major League might be the best.
I think
Major League is the best one, yeah.
There are a couple, indies. I know there was a skateboarding one that Nas produced.
I remember.
I don't know the name of it though.
Yeah, I remember.
That was pretty good.
Next question. How do you
draft day?
That is, it's funny that I forget about
it's coming
that
to me now.
Yeah.
Draft day was good.
Okay.
Major League Draft Day, and those are the top two right now. There's probably a third that I can't think of.
There was one.
Oh, Draft Day, Major League, and the movie about Danny Green, The Irishman.
I don't know that one.
That's a big one. Those three. Those are my three. Okay, it came to me. I had to think a little bit.
Next question. How did you feel about the Browns leaving in '96?
I was like 11 years old. But I was
feel like
pretty
that's
sad.
prime, yeah.
I was pretty sad. I remember going to the last game with my pops.
Really?
And everyone was taking a chair. We actually took a chair home.
I wonder, you still have it?
I don't have it anymore.
Oh, wow.
It's somewhere. I don't know where it is.
That's actually crazy.
I think somebody in my family still has it somewhere. I think my uncle still has it. We took a chair home. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Next question. Top 3 rap songs from Cleveland artists.
Trap Pairs by Machine Gun Kelly. Notorious Thugs, Notorious B.I.G. featuring Bone Thugs and Harmony. Mm-hmm. And then Pursuit of Happiness by Kid Cudi.
I love Pursuit of Happiness.
That's a vibe. That's a vibe.
For sure.
Yeah, it's a vibe.
Favorite moment or memory so far with Cleveland sports?
I mean, it has to be when the Cavs won the NBA championship in 2016. I mean,
Do you remember where you were?
Yeah, I remember. Unfortunately, I was interning in D.C.
Oh, okay.
But I was at a Cleveland bar. I lost my voice. I still had the videos on my phone.
Yeah. From
when we won, and we were all crying, giving each other hugs. It was a beautiful night.
Yeah, that's probably one of my favorite Cleveland moments for sure.
Yeah.
Home in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. How important is its legacy to the city of Cleveland?
It's everything, and I'm really excited about the future plans to renovate the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. I'm excited to really elevate hip hop more when it comes to how we think about the impact that hip hop had on rock and roll. Next year will be the 50th anniversary of hip hop being created, and so I think we have a big opportunity next year to tell that story of Cleveland being a hip hop mecca.
Mm-hmm. Now, these last two kind of go hand in hand, but what do you believe is Cleveland's hardest sell?
The weather. Mm-hmm. Right? I mean, everybody's like, oh my God, it's cold. But Chicago gets cold.
Right.
Mm-hmm. We don't have hurricanes like they have in Miami or anywhere else. So,
I feel like I always know that if I'm in Cleveland, I'm safe from all the natural disasters.
That's why everyone should move to Cleveland now.
Yeah. Cleveland's easy.
The most climate-friendly city in the world, Cleveland, Ohio. There we go.
Would you say that's Cleveland's easiest sell? Because that's the next question.
I think so, right? Mm-hmm. We're the most climate-friendly city in the world. 4 seasons out the year. Really, too, summer and winter.
Yeah, we don't get spring. We don't get spring.
Just summer and winter.
Right.
But our people are the best asset we have.
I would agree 100% with that.
We actually like each other in Cleveland, unlike in most cities.
Yeah. It's just genuine.
Very genuine, absolutely.
And so, I'm sure that's fun. All the Cleveland citizens will love that one and have a joke out of that one. But it's hard to or if you had to look at your younger self and look in the mirror to the kid who was running around all the family events, screaming that you're going to be mayor, telling your aunts, your uncles that you're going to be mayor. That kid, if you had to look that kid in the mirror today, what would you tell him?
Keep pushing. Keep pushing. When it gets hard, think about the other stuff I had to go through to get here, and know that it's all worth it.
Mm-hmm. And if you had to tell another kid, who, from your position now, who's experiencing adversity, or even it could be home, it could be school, anything, from your neighborhood or anything like that, what would you tell that kid?
Find your why early and just stick to it, and be okay with not being the most popular kid in the classroom. I struggled with that when I was growing up, because who doesn't want to be liked?
Right.
But sometimes being by yourself allows you to find your why, lock in, and really understand your purpose to achieve your destiny.
Mm-hmm. Now, final question. During your term here, what change do you hope to see, throughout the city of Cleveland?
Well, I want us to be one of the safest cities in the country. I want us to be a city where the American dream is still real, particularly for Black and brown people. And I want us to really be a magnet for new ideas, innovation, and really show America that the promise of this country is real, and Cleveland is a model for what that can mean.
There are two things I feel like in here that caught my eye for sure.
What's that?
There's the painting back there.
Yeah.
I don't know who did that painting, but
an artist named Stina. She's awesome. She's a muralist in Cleveland. She's great.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
And then also this.
Go Cavs, baby.
Cavs had their first game,
I'll be there
this week, and then also first home game this week as well.
Yeah.
Can you give me a prediction for the seed that you think they'll be this year?
Second seed in the East. We'll win the Eastern Conference Championship. We're going to the finals this year.
I love it.
Donovan Mitchell or Darius Garland, either or will be MVP.
I love it. I love it. I love it. Yeah. And I can't agree more. They're going to be fun to watch this season for sure.
Forward to it.
Definitely. And so thank you again for this opportunity. And I know you're a busy man, so thank you for your time. And
keep doing what you're doing, brother.
Appreciate it. And so my goal with this is to, continue to highlight our city. And so I was definitely grateful for being able to come on here with you and, do it from a different point of view, allow my audience to see you, allow your audience to see me. And so I think it's great. I think it's been fun. And so just make sure you continue to support Varsity House Podcast, follow all of our social media accounts, and subscribe to our YouTube channel. Again, I'm Shaun Crawford, host of Varsity House Podcast, and our guest today, Mayor Bibb. Thank you again.
Thank you, man.